Greetings all, this is the One Nerd, and I want to wish you a happy 2020. There's a lot of promise to this new year, not just the start of a new year, but also the start of a new decade. And I for one want to use this opportunity to make myself the best that I can, be it in regards to my channel, or improving myself. For the first review of the year, I want to focus on a little gem that has just had a recent re-release, that I think that all fans of horror and sci-fi should not only watch, but also own in some capacity. This is Tammy and the T-Rex. Or Tanny and the Teenage T-Rex. It's kind of complicated. Released in 1994, Tammy and the T-Rex is a sci-fi comedy film about a man who has his brain taken out and put into a robot T-Rex body. The film was originally shot as R-rated, but it was cut down and had many scenes of gore removed so it could appeal to a wider audience. As you can imagine, since you've probably never heard of it, it didn't work. Luckily, the good people at Vinegar Syndrome have recently re-released the movie and restored the R-rated cut for us all to enjoy on Fabulous Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray. If you've ever heard of this film, it's probably on Red Letter Media's show Best of the Worst. While I like Best of the Worst, it really portrayed the film as not really trying to be funny, like it wasn't a comedy to begin with, when in reality it is a goofy comedy. They also failed to highlight a lot of the really good aspects of the movie, although more than likely it was because they were watching the butchered PG-13 version. What I hope to do with this video is to showcase this film and show why it deserves to be on a higher run when it comes to cult classic films. So let's jump right into Tammy and the T-Rex. Tammy and the T-Rex stars a young Denise Richards as the titular Tammy and the alive Paul Walker as Michael. Tammy and Michael are very clearly in love, but there is an issue, that being Tammy's ex, Billy.
What the hell you think you're doing,
Billy,
man?
you're gonna get in a
I'm
lot
walking
of
with
trouble.
this. You stay out of this. I'm walking with this lady. What do you think you're doing, man? That's my lady, all right?
Oh man, jeez, this guy is totally 90s tough. He looks ridiculous and his name is Billy, but he will straight up kill you if you cross him. The two get into an argument in front of the school, and it escalates into a straight up wrestling match. And like many wrestling matches, it gets a little gay. Going in for a rub and a squeezy. Classic move. During the fight, Michael gets support from his friend Byron.
Ooh, good move. You're not squeezing much, Michael.
It was the 90s, okay? That's what happened in 90s movies. As whatever this is going on, we're introduced to a team of cartoon characters playing our villains for the movie. There's the mad scientist, with a dream of giving life to a robot dinosaur.
That's excellent. That is excellent.
His sex-crazed girlfriend, the muscle, and the nerdy computer guy. It is at this point that we're first shown the T-Rex of Tammy and the T-Rex fame. The writer/director Stuart Raphael talked about that this dinosaur was the reason he wanted to make this movie. He had access to an animatronic dinosaur for a few weeks and decided to take advantage of it in order to make a movie. The movie is a true low-budget marvel. All the locations were about 25 minutes away from where the director already lived. It's rare that you actually see movies like this anymore, and that's one of the reasons why I did want to showcase a movie like this. Movies that are just made for the sake of making movies and for the fun of making movies. Big budget Hollywood movies are great and all, but sometimes you just need to decompress and just enjoy something a little goofy. Tammy and Michael aren't going to let some psycho named Billy keep them apart, so Michael sneaks into Tammy's room that night. You may not want to go for it, dude. She seems pretty out of it. But before the two can get down and dirty and earn an R rating for another reason, they are hit with the ultimate cold shower.
I know what you're doing out there! Wait!
Billy and his gang chase Michael and send a message to him to back off Tammy.
What would you do if someone screwed your old lady and you had the power to do whatever you wanted to that fucker? Huh? What would you do?
Billy, surprisingly, lets him go, but it turns out he has another plan for Michael. Michael is rushed to a local hospital, but it does not look good for him.
What did he do to you? What did he do to you?
I mean, all things considered, dude looks pretty good for just being mauled by a lion. However, the mad scientist and his bride are on the hunt for a fresh brain to put into his T-Rex, and he comes across Michael.
Okay, well, I will check him out and see what I can do.
God bless you, Doctor. By the way, how's that latest experiment of yours going?
I'm glad you asked that, because I think I'm on the verge of a breakthrough.
To get Michael, he first needs to convince Tammy and Byron that he has in fact passed.
Live! 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 Live!
Well, that's it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I did all I could.
No!
It's an unfathomable twist of fate when God takes someone so young and innocent.
Oh, that's hitting a little too close to home for Walker. With Michael in hand, the gang gets busy removing the brain. Many scenes were simply trimmed out of the PG-13 version, but this scene was completely cut out, due to the gore and seeing a brain removed and...
Oh, wait. This one's my favorite right here. Watch this one. Watch this. Watch. I like to fool around like that.
I mean, by today's standards, that's pretty tame. With the brain finally out, it is implanted into the Dinobot, which is what I will be calling it from now on, and everything is connected.
Speak to me! Success! Now let us implant the brain!
But all that murder and dismemberment can work up an appetite.
Pizza man! Hello? Are you the double cheese pepperoni?
And yes, that is Efren Ramirez, aka Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite, in his first ever movie role. Muscle and Nerd are put in charge of taking Michael's body back to the morgue. But they screw around too much and make the mistake of mocking the giant Dinobot. After escaping, it's not too long until he's discovered.
It's coming for me! Don't forget, $20 number 5 and the 7th to win!
But luckily, this gives Dinobot a chance to call his love.
Hi, this is Tammy. Leave me a message or I'll be mad at you.
See, it's a good thing that Tammy's headshot just happens to be there in her room. I totally forgot what she looked like. Michael Dinobot comes across a happening party, where all the key players of his life just so happen to be, including Tammy, Byron, and Billy and his gang.
Hey, look, all right? I just want to talk to you.
I don't want to see you for the rest of my life, ever.
Yo, that's just me fine, bitch.
And Michael Dinobot is ready to get some revenge.
What?
Billy, he's kidding around.
But only on the people who deserve it.
Thank you.
After the massacre, the cops show up and try to figure out what happened.
It's awful hard to explain.
Oh, sweet Jesus, it's a massacre.
And it turns out, one of the cops is Byron's dad, and he tries to convey to him exactly what happened.
Listen, Pop, I know it sounds stupid and ridiculous, but it was a real dinosaur.
Oh, you mean somebody dressed up in a costume, something like that?
No, that is not what I mean. I mean, it was as big as an elephant. He was 10 feet tall.
I mean, I can understand why the dad is having a little bit of trouble, believing all of this. I mean, there has to be some sort of logical explanation for this, and this, and this. Could have been a terrorist plot. I mean, you never know. The next morning, the mad scientist and his assistant discover the aftermath of the Dinobot escape.
Feeling a little flat today, Carl.
Mad scientist sees this as a good thing, the ultimate test of his experiment for his investors. Meanwhile, Tammy is just getting out of the shower when...
Did you hear that?
What?
Sounds like Tam.
Oh, well, good. At least she's up and around.
I don't know, she doesn't sound right.
Almost sounds like there's some sort of dinosaur up there kidnapping her or something. And somehow that is the case, and Michael tries to get Tammy to understand who he is now.
Do you want my bracelet?
Please, that thing clashes way too much with his style. Jeez, we need to get Byron back in here. We're missing some quality lines here. After a quick game of charades, Tammy finally figures out that it's him, and the two lovers are reunited.
I miss you so much.
The police are called to investigate the supposed kidnapping, but Tammy just shows up like nothing happened.
Who did this?
I don't know. I think it was just a meteor or something. I was just checking the fields to see if there was anything out there, but there isn't.
A meteor or something. A meteor or something. A dinosaur? I don't understand. What's going on?
Look, it's very simple, okay? Her boyfriend was killed by lions, and then his brain was put into the body of a Dinobot, who she's now hooking up with. What part of that is so hard to understand? After trying and failing to get Michael's old body back,
Relax.
Tammy and Byron take Dinobot to the morgue to pick out a new one.
What do you think of this one?
He's short, but he's big. You know what I mean?
He's a brother, Mike. You might like it.
Soul food. Rhythm. Huh?
I do not want a girl.
Hey, let him take a look. Mike.
Mike?
We could be like three sisters.
I don't want a sister. I want a guy.
No.
Unfortunately, this is highly illegal, and the police come to start a chase. They're not able to lose the cops, so they decide to split up.
I knew I never should have left Detroit City.
You see it, Sheriff?
Yeah, I see it. Damn, that girl can ride.
What do you want us to do, Sheriff?
Call a dog catcher.
Tammy and Dinobot hide out in the same barn they went to before.
Are you decent?
Just a minute.
Come on, Byron. Clearly they didn't do anything. She would be split in half, and not in the good way. Unfortunately, Byron was being followed by the police.
This is the sheriff speaking. Now, I know you're in there. I want you to come out with your hands up and nobody will get hurt here.
You reckon that thing has hands, Sheriff?
You want to shut up, Norville?
Byron and Tammy try to de-escalate the situation. However, that goes out the window when the mad scientist shows up.
That is my dinosaur that you are threatening. I made him and he is mine.
He's the one that caused all this. He put my boyfriend's brain in that thing.
She doesn't even know what she's talking about. I mean, she's totally out of her mind.
Mad scientist and his girl attempt to take care of the Dinobot, and it goes just as well as you would expect. All options exhausted, the police open fire. You see, if this were a more realistic shootout, they also probably would have shot the hostage. It seems like Michael Dinobot is dead and gone. Again. But when we next see Tammy, she seems pretty stoked for having her boyfriend die twice in the span of 2 days. Soon we see why.
Hi, honey. How you doing?
I missed you.
Oh, honey, I missed you too. You want the usual?
Desperately.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, man. Hit me again. All right, baby. Show it to me, baby.
Oh boy, this is getting weird.
You're bad. Woo! I'm gonna have you.
I mean, you do need to show some skin in these types of movies, but
Take it off. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Forgive us, Father, for we have sinned. We've taken all that we can
It's funny, this actually all stayed in the PG-13 version.
I want you. I need you. I'm gonna screw your brains out of you.
I love you too. You gotta give me a body. I can't take any more of this.
Tammy and the T-Rex is a very unique movie. It's cheesy, definitely. It's fantastic. It's odd, but it's genuinely entertaining in that regard. It's not trying to be anything more than what it is. It's honest, it's real, and again, it's really entertaining and it's really great. I honestly feel like this probably would have been better received if it had originally come out as an R-rated cut. Maybe it would have been a bigger cult classic today, and there would be more instances of more releases like this, and maybe some, special screenings or what have you. But right now, as I mentioned before, the very, very good people at Vinegar Syndrome have put this out right now on Blu-ray and 4K. I got the version during the special Black Friday sale that comes with this really great slipcover. Vinegar Syndrome is really great about these slipcovers. You can't get this version anymore unless, of course, you go on eBay, but you can still get the movie right now. Right now, it's available at vinegarsyndrome.com. I will be putting links to both versions in the description, so you can go check it out. It is also going to be available on Amazon pretty soon. Probably won't be released by the time this comes out, but again, I will also be putting links down in the description for those as well, so you can check this out. I'm serious. If you have seen this movie, if you've seen this movie, like, again, I mentioned the Red Letter Media video, The Best of the Worst. If you've seen that, I would definitely recommend picking up a copy of this and actually seeing it for yourself, especially now that the R-rated cut is out. This is a movie that you will want to see over and over again. It's not even like, I can't even describe it as like, oh, it's so bad it's good. Like, it does have some really good moments in it. Yeah, again, the effects are cheesy, blah, 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 what have you. It's a low-budget dinosaur movie that has, as I mentioned before, a lot of heart, a lot put into it, and it's really, really great. Like, this, I can't stop gushing about this movie. I didn't even plan on making a review for this movie, honestly. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was probably just going to do another horror movie that I hated or what have you, but when I got this release just recently and I watched it, I thought, more people need to know about this. People need to watch this. More people need to buy this Blu-ray. Honestly, if you have not had the opportunity to see it, at least stream it, because Shudder is going to be releasing the R-rated cut on their service pretty soon. I'll also be putting a link to where you can sign up for that service. But if you, at the very least, stream it, and if you feel like you need this, because it also has some very cool special features, including the entire video cut of the PG-13 version that's also on here. If you watch it on streaming, at the very least, and if you feel you must, if you feel you need to add it to your collection, do it right now. Seriously. I want to thank you for joining me for my first ever review of 2020. I do hope to be coming out with more frequent reviews, and actually reviews more like this one, where I actually talk about stuff that I like more. I have talked about movies that I liked, sometimes done reviews of those. On my first couple of reviews, like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, that was a movie that I did genuinely like, but I want to kind of have a good balance of, still talk about movies that I hate and criticize them and what have you, but also showcase stuff that I like so that more people can watch them and discover them and what have you, and maybe in some cases get them released on some sort of physical format. So once again, I want to thank you for joining me. I hope that you liked this video, and if you did, you'll leave a comment, you'll like, and of course you'll subscribe to more content from this channel, as I hope to put so much more in 2020. This is The One Nerd, and that's just been my opinion.